Let's do a budget build for September 2014, and we are going to use an Impel. So I promised you guys I would change up the budget builds, and this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the links for the US, the UK, and Australia all in the description below. However, I will be describing the build in the US link. Now, this is pretty much, all the links are pretty similar. They just got different brands for the different areas, which I believe offer the best value for money. So let me know what you guys think about this new format. It'll definitely save a few videos. You can watch one video and know that you're in this country. You can get these deals kind of thing. However, let's move on with the budget build, and I'll explain what parts are in the cart and how they perform. So here's the US PC part picker link for you guys, and the first part in the cart is the Intel 3258. Now I've got it right here. I have used this CPU, and I have used it in a gaming rig with the GTX 760. Now it performed really well. It overclocks to 4.2 gigs on the stock heatsink fan as well on a budget motherboard. So you're getting, basically what this means is that you can get free performance for nothing when you buy this CPU and you couple it with the budget motherboard, like the motherboard we are putting in the description or in the PC part picker link today. So great CPU for the money. It runs cool. It uses like next to no power. You've also got the onboard graphics there, which you can use for streaming with the Intel QuickSync. So the benefits of this CPU for $70 are just extremely good. If you live near Micro Center as well, you can pick it up for $60 as well. So extremely good value for money with this CPU. Now there is a catch with this CPU though. A lot of people say, oh man, I had one person message me saying they were getting a bad experience with the GTX 770, and that's exactly that. I would only recommend this CPU up until a GTX 760. Now I have tested the 3220 with the GTX 780 Lightning overclocked, and the experience was horrible. The CPU was just choking. So yeah. Know your limits with this CPU, but it is good up until a GTX 760. After that, it starts to sort of have a rough time, especially at 1080p. Anyway, let's move on to the next part of the build. This is the Gigabyte B85M D2V motherboard. Now, I have the DS3H. They're similar. I think they've just got different video outputs on the motherboard, which doesn't even matter because we're going to be using a graphics card, which we're going to use the outputs from that graphics card. So the difference between the DS3H and the D2V is nothing if you're a gamer, so don't worry about that. Now this motherboard, let's have a look at it. It's $49 after you get a $10 mail-in rebate, and for that price, it's really good value for money. So I've tested this motherboard. It runs cool, it overclocks well. It overclocks until 1.2 volt, which should be good for most of these Haswell CPUs, these Pentiums, up until about 4.2 gigs. You might only be able to get 4.1, but you're still going to get a decent overclock, and you'll know that this thing will just handle games for the next year, 2 years, or however long you throw at it. Now, another thing about this build is you also have upgradability. That's right. You're getting a budget end motherboard like the B85M for $50. And then in the future, you can take this Pentium out, this 3258, you can sell it for maybe $40, $50 in a couple of years' time. Drop in a 4770K or a 4790K, and you'll have a 4-core 8-threaded beast in there, and you'll be ready to play games with only a minimal upgrade. So you've got upgradability there, and it's really good. I like the fact that this board gives you options as well, which is kind of hard when we're in a budget build range. So let's get on to the next part of the build, and that is 8GB of DDR3 memory. Now, if you are on a budget, you can go with just one 4GB stick. However, I do recommend you get 8GB for the best experience. especially if you're going to make videos or multitask or do a little bit of this and that, then 8GB is desired over 4. It is expensive though, I know, $73 for 8GB is quite expensive. However, wait till you go see the prices of DDR4 RAM and you will go shit yourself. Now, so we got Team Extreme here. This stuff will be able to be overclocked to 1600 megahertz. So that's the max that the B85M will support. So you can pretty much just whack in the XMP profiles in the BIOS and you're good to go with this RAM. Now let's move on to the next part of the build. Now this is optional. So the optional stuff here, I have pretty much, I've just put it down to $0. So if you have the extra money, you can delete the Caviar Blue 1TB and go with a 240GB SSD, which I think it's like $90 or something like that. So yeah, $10 mail-in rebates, $99. So a great value for money there. It's an extra $42 over 1TB, though if you only have one drive, then I do recommend getting a hard disk drive, as you get a lot of storage for your money. But if you have a backup drive sitting around home, like a 2 terabyte, your dad has a 2 terabyte, or your brother or whatnot, your girlfriend has a 2 terabyte backup drive, just use that to back up your files and get an SSD, because you will notice the difference. So anyway, with that being said, let's move on now to the Western Digital 1 terabyte blue. So this is just a $58 drive. It's pretty much a staple in any budget, low budget gaming rig or mid-budget gaming rig that you'll see out there, because it's just they're just reliable drives. I mean, where I work, we have hundreds of these drives, and they don't fail. They just keep going. I love Western Digital drives. Anyway, let's move on to the next part of the build, and that is the ASUS GTX 750 Ti. Now, I told you guys that I have tested this whole rig, and yes, I've tested a GTX 750 Ti, and it's great value for money. It uses little to no power. It runs so cool as well. So if you're one of those guys who doesn't clean out his computer, just lets dust build up, this thing won't throttle at all. This thing here overclocked like a beast, and it still ran so cool in the dead heat of summer. So the 750 Ti's, they're legit graphics cards. I really like the price point they're at as well, especially if you can get this thing for $130 after a rebate. I mean, come on, that's really cheap. It's also a cool looking card. The ASUS make a cool looking cooler, so you'll be able to have some e-respect there as well from your friends, whatnot. And yeah, I like this card. So probably most likely these cards, I guarantee you this thing will overclock to like 1.2 gigs as well if you want to overclock it, which is really good. This one here overclocked to like 1.3, and I didn't even do anything. I didn't even touch a button. So the 750 Ti is legit. If you have the extra money, you can go with the GTX 760. I've got one of those right here. So you can go with the GTX 760 if you've got the extra money, or you can go with an R9 270X. So R9 280 might be starting to sort of creep into that level of doesn't work too well with the Pentium 3258. But definitely, if you got the money, you can get the 270X or the 760 as well. But 750 Ti for the money is still great value for money. I really like this graphics card. So it's up to you guys what you want to do. But awesome graphics card. You'll be having a great experience at 1080p regardless. Anyway, let's look at the next part of the build. This is the NZXT 210, Source 210. Now, this case, I mean, $30 after a $10 mail-in rebate. Wow, it's got a window, like you've got a window on it as well, so it's a good-looking case. I hardly ever come into cases that look this good for $30. It looks sleek, it looks clean, I mean, it comes with a fan, it comes with the power button. Like, I gotta stress this in every budget build, man. You're getting a power button, that's all you need now. But on a serious note, the GTX 750 Ti, it's not a long graphics card, so you'll have no problems fitting this graphics card in this case. It also fits normal ATX motherboards in there, but since we're using a micro ATX motherboard, we'll have no problems with the compatibility. Everything will fit in fine, the case will look good, and that's all that we need to know. So yeah, next part of the build, Animax Triathlon 650 watt power supply. Wow, this thing is beast, man. It's also semi-modular as well, so you can actually have a very clean looking PC when you get this power supply. Not only that, you get a $30 mail-in rebate. I mean, I'm assuming that you can get this rebate, and if you can, then it really marks extraordinary value for money. I mean, $46 after that rebate for a 650 watt from Animax. I mean, look at that, two 12-volt rails that I'm pretty sure, I mean, yeah, they'd combine, I'd say the max output, even if they combined, would be about 50 amps, just from memory, maybe 55 amps. But you've still got a huge amount of amps there on the 12-volt rail. This is the thing about this power supply. Seriously, don't save $20 and go with the 430CX whatever, because this thing will give you upgradability. This thing will allow you to put a beast graphics card in the future, better CPU, like a 4-core 8-threaded CPU, overclock the GPU, and you'll still have no problems. Not to mention it'll last long as well. I mean, wow, okay, grab this power supply if you can get that mail-in rebate, because it's awesome value for money. And now the next part of the build here is simply, all I have done is I have blacked it out to $0. If you need a DVD writer, then get one for maybe, I think, $12, $15. If you don't need one, then don't bother. If you've got an external sitting around at home, or you can install Windows from a USB pen, then that's cool as well. So that brings the grand total to $450 after mail-in rebates. I mean, before mail-in rebates, it's going to cost you $515, but this PC is quite simply going to be amazing for the money. You've got upgradability there, you've got playability there as well with your favorite games at 1080p, and you've also got some power savings. I mean, you got 750 Ti in there, going to save power, 2-core, dual-core, it's going to save power. I mean, this thing's going to be beast. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this budget build for 2014 September. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions about this budget build, please leave a comment in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys soon with another tech video. I've also put the links in here for the different countries. For Australia, I mean, Australia is actually pretty impressive, $585 AUD for this same build. And the UK is also pretty similar as well. Another thing I should mention is, yeah, the CPU cooler. If you want to get a CPU cooler as well, go grab yourself like a Cooler Master 212 Evo, and you're good to go, because then you can use that cooler on your future CPU as well if you get a 4770K and drop it in. Anyway, I've talked enough. I'll see you guys in another tech video. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Yeah, baby. Peace out. Bye.